Hello, I think we are live and we are coming back, bringing back, I should say, Maker Monday. Give me just a second. It looks like Facebook paused up the second I hit live. There we go. Now I can see my video and make sure it's working. So, this is kind of our return of Maker Monday. I'm just checking my phone to triple check that we're live. But while I do that, I'll talk a little bit about what we're going to do today. And that is, we are going to work on a model robot, specifically what's referred to as a Gunpla. It's a Gundam model from the Japanese anime show called Gundam, which there have been many versions of over the last 40 years. So we're going to work on one of those little robots today, and they vary in quality and price all over the place. You can get some for under $10, and there are really expensive ones for fancy people who want to make like a $200 model. And they also come in different scales, usually one 1/44th, one 100, or 1/60th on the higher end. What we're going to be working on today is a model that is a 1/100 model, so somewhere in the middle. I don't have that $300 a model kit money, but something like this is like probably around $30 to $40, depending on which one you went with. And so I've actually already started this one. This is, and some of them get pretty intricate. This is a transforming one, and so this one actually has the, they call it the core fighter jet part of it. And it actually transforms into the rest of it. And so this one is a transforming multi-part one. I don't know how far we'll get on this, but we'll see. We'll mess around with it for a while tonight. And so I already made that core part, and so the next thing I'm going to do is get started on the right arm. If you are interested in building Gunpla, there are a few tools that you would want to get. The number one being are these little cutters or snips. These are your most important thing because they are going to go into the plastic here, and you're going to cut, kind of as close as you can to get a nice clean edge. You don't want a bunch of little plastic nubs on your model. So that's probably your number one thing that you want. Other things that you can have, this is like a little pry tool. You can use this if you make a mistake on parts and pry them back apart with hopefully not breaking the little plastic inside. You can also get like files and things. And you can get markers and airbrushes to paint them. People really go all out with this. I am not that artistically talented or fancy, so you're basically going to see me working with these guys tonight. And so I'm going to start on my arms, and I don't know if you can see it on the manual, but the instructions are, since it comes from Japan, in Japanese, but everything is lettered and numbered so that you can find it pretty easily. And then you just kind of got to guess at what some of the other instructions mean. Usually for stickers and things, it's pretty obvious. But there are some tough parts that you can get to. But like I said, it's numbered with English letters for the parts, and they come on these plastic sheets that they call runners. And so for my first part, I need F20, 21, and 22. And so I find them on here. These ones I don't have to do too much worry about my cutting, trying to get it, perfect, no nubs. Because by looking at these are going to be kind of an internal part of the arm, part of the frame. So I'll get close so it's, a pretty good clean cut. But I'm not going to go too overboard with it. And so what it wants me to do here is take these two parts, put this in the back end of it, and then add this part back over top of it. Oops, I think I got it facing. Yeah, there we go. That's the right direction now. And so that's our first little part there. Hopefully you can see it, and we set it up so they snap together. I didn't mention, you don't need glue for pretty much any of these kits. They are snapped together. So as long as you've got something to, cut the parts off the runner, these are actually pretty straightforward in the building, which is something I like about them. As a kid, I used to get some model planes and stuff. But But those were just always a gluey mess because, again, I am not super artistically talented. So I would make kind of a mess with the paint and the glue. And these, depending on the grade of model you go with, have pretty decent separation of colors, and hopefully we'll get into some parts with some more, but there's actually probably 6 or 7 different colors on these runner sheets. And if anybody out there is watching or has any questions, feel free to ask them in the chat. I will do my best to answer. I am not an expert on this by any means, but I've got a chunk of knowledge. So right now I'm just repeating the last step because we have to do it twice for the arms. So here's our second arm going together. And so now we've got 2 of those. And our next step is to cut out C22, 2 of them, and add them. And this one is a piece now I want to be a little bit more careful with my cuts because this looks like it's going to be exposed. This is one of the outer white pieces. I'm going to get as close as I can, really squeeze in there and then cut it out, and then go and repeat that for my second one. There it is. All right, and so that goes, it looks like up inside there's a little track for it here. Then it slides back in. Cut out, make sure I'm doing it in the right direction. I think I got it right. Put that in and put that in. And for my next step, it looks like I need 2 from the F runners again, numbers 23 and 24. There we go. There's 2 of each of those. Now back to the directions. Like this piece goes through that. I will say what I've built of this one so far, this might be the hardest one I've done yet, so I am mildly worried that I'm going to mess things up. This part really doesn't want to go together. Oop, did I just get it? There we go. So because this is technically 3 parts and they all transform, there's a lot of movement in this one. There we go. There's some more of what I am assuming are going to end up being our shoulders in a little while. And now we're back to a white part from C again. We need the 21s. So we just identify. We get in as closely and as carefully as we can. Cut that piece off. I found these to be an interesting thing to do during quarantine and that, just kind of relaxing. Like I said, they started under $10 for some of the more basic ones, so You could sit there for an hour or two, or if you get one of the more expensive ones, 5 or 6 hours, just cutting little parts and putting them all together. Nothing super technical. There we go. That part's on there. And usually you'll get little hints too. The instructions might be in Japanese, but if you look at it, there's, a notch here. And then inside this white piece, if you can see it, there's a notch inside of it. So you can kind of just see that these are meant to be squeezed in together. So we're getting these parts closer to being something soon, maybe. So next up we need the C24s and the B10s. Here's our 24. And our first not white or gray part, we need the two B10s, which are this piece right here. What I do a lot of times is I'll find the part and then I flip the runner over. I find it to be a little easier to get a clean cut from the bottom side. There's one. You can get a little starter kit with a pair of these and a box of some of these basic tools for around $10–15. Or just like the model kits, you can really spend a lot of money. They sell, specialized cutters like these for people who are really into being hobbyists with really fine blades for upwards of $100. So it's another one of those things. It's a hobby where you can kind of spend as much or as little on it as you want. And I am not independently wealthy, so I kind of go with the middle road. Oops, almost put on the wrong part first. So you want to make sure you're paying attention to numbers, so I wanted to put on 24 first, and I almost put on 10. There we go, we got that piece in. Now this blue one caps it, and now it's starting to look more and more like an actual piece of something. Now we do that for the other shoulder. There we go, we've got two arms going. And now it wants us to flip it up this way. And now we've got a few parts. I need C25s. And that's going to be this one right here. Sorry if we're hearing some weird noises. The refrigerator was just making some kind of weird sound. I've also got the window open since it's such a cool day rather than air conditioning going. What number was it again? C25. Oops, I cut out 26 on the last sheet. So now go back and get the right one. And there are people who are better at this than me that'll go back and they'll actually sand. And they've got it set up so they sand just a very little bit to get that tiny bit of cut off piece. But I am not that good at it. Every time I try and sand something, I feel like I just make more of a mess. I just kind of leave the kits as they are. And they still give a pretty decent look. Sorry if I pull stuff back sometimes it gets a little far from the camera. It's just not the easiest setup. Get the webcam shooting right down at a tabletop. And also the lighting kind of gets blocked out by everything. So sorry if there's a bunch of weird shadows. There we go. Alright, so looking at this, it wants me to put one piece down inside of here. Again, once you look at it, you can kind of see that this has grooves on its side, and then there's grooves right there for it to go into. Of course, getting it into the grooves can still be a challenge. There we go. So that's into there. That part slides into there. Not getting enough pressure. There we go. Now I think it's how I want it. And now for the other one. Here we go. Got those. Now this direction, I can't tell what it wants. Seems like it wants to attach inside of there, but I don't see any way to get a good grip on it. Nope, now I see it. So this one was tough. I had these little hooks from here, and there's a little hook on either side of that. And I don't want to do it upside down. So it comes out, wants to be like that. Of course, as soon as I got it the right way, I dropped it. That really doesn't want to stay together. I'm now beginning to understand when people said this was a tougher one. There we go. That shoulder joint. A tough one. But I think we got it now. Alright, so same idea but mirrored. We want it to end up this way. Get it all in there. I think we've got them this time. There we go. There's our two shoulder parts. Hopefully. Hopefully they don't mess up and become very difficult to attach later on. Sometimes that happens, and then you just gotta go back a few steps. All right. Everything there is looking as good as it can for right now. So, time for me to move on, and I need pieces E1 and 23. And I need 2 of each. Looks like everything for E is just doubled up on the same runner instead of having to go to 2 different ones, so that should be a smidge more convenient. Well, this one also has things to cut it off of on either side. So there's those 2. And now I need the 2 E23s, which are these other parts further down. I think it might be starting to rain outside. Another part that's difficult to cut out because there's parts where it connects on either side. There we go. Finally got this loose. Now as I look at it, looks like it wants it turned over that way. This snaps onto here. And that's another part with a lot of rotation. I think it wants me to put it straight up and down like that. And now I need, oops, I forgot to do it a second time first. Get this piece like this, like this. And rotate. Here we go. Now we've got 2 of the same, or at least hopefully 2 of the same. And now I need F19s and C27. One. 2. And now we need C27. Right down here. I don't think I'll have enough time to finish this tonight, considering I'm not even done with the arms and it's been a half hour. We will try and put a picture of this up on our Facebook later in the week when we actually complete it. Also, since we're at about the halfway point, if anybody out there is watching, feel free to speak up, ask questions, just say hi. Let me know that I'm not just talking into the void, you know, all that good stuff. All right, we've got this and the C27. Looks like it goes down here and wraps around that part we put in before. I'll do that on each one first. And we've got some sirens coming. Hopefully everything's okay. But you might hear some loud noises in the background. I got that piece on, and now it wants this one. Beings, it doesn't really seem... Maybe it's sturdy. Oh yeah, I guess it's sturdy. Alright, so that... Alright, hopefully those are done correctly. Fingers crossed. And now it looks like I need a bunch of parts from our next step that are going to be from the A series. Specifically 33, 34, and 35. Those are some of these red pieces, getting a little bit more color. This next step is asking for like 5 pieces all at once, so we're going to have some cutting to do here. Alright, so that's the stuff from A that I needed. And now I also need E9s. Nine. Alright, and now we put some stuff together. There's that. This goes on top of it. This one goes underneath it. And this is a little cap. And so all those parts we cut out just became one little thing. And now the repeat. In. And then part 2. And then our cap. There we go. We've got 2 of them now. We've got a pair. And now, our next step looks like we need D9, 2 of them. That's going to be these pieces right here. And it's basically telling me to store them up inside of these and don't really do anything else with them for now. So we are just going to poke those up in there. I'll use these to see if they can be pushed down any further. Looks like they can. Kind of curious now. Yeah, I feel like this step would be easier to do if you just put it into the cap at the start and put everything around it. Yeah, because they go real far in. So I'm going to do that for our other one too. Get out, push it into the cap, and there we go. And now we need F17. This one. And there's 2. Looks like it wants us to hold them like this. These are the same on either side. That was a potentially easy step. I haven't had too many of those lately. There we go. There's those 2. You can see we're getting shoulders. We're getting arm parts going. And now we're actually going to get to where we start putting some of this together. And it also wants a C26. Oop, and that's the one I cut out one of accidentally earlier. So there's that. And here's the other. Now this piece looks to be symmetrical, so it shouldn't matter too much what we do when we drop it down onto here. Looking at this, gonna match up the direction of that, and so then it looks like this piece goes right over this one. And then also, this then comes in, plugs into, should be right there. Or not. Oh, you know what? I think it's supposed to actually go into this little shaped groove. Oops. looks like it wants it to kind of fold back up onto itself, and then it maybe wants it pushed all the way down to there. We'll see exactly how that works out in probably a few more steps. So again there, we get this piece to go up inside of that railing. Have the same exact problems again. There we go. Now it's pushed back to there. Pop that out. And they look to be pretty identical now, so I don't think I've messed anything up too horribly. So we keep moving on. For our next step, we need the C23s and the F18. Piece is really in there and didn't have a good clean way to cut it, so I'm going to try and use on here to just get a little bit more. Even that's not giving me too much success. I think I'm just going to have to deal with it as it is. Without being good at sanding, I'm not going to get much better. So there's our C23s, and the other one that I said I needed is an F18. There's one. Comes the other. So now these two parts, one goes inside of the other, like they should go like this. There we are. One. There's two. Now it looks like it attaches. But what down here, I don't know. Oh, wow, that's another tiny one. It's got these little nubs. They're just supposed to grab it there, and then they don't really even grab it. Fold back up into itself there. There we are. This time I'm going to cut out the middleman and just put it right where it's supposed to go when it's done correctly, rather than trying to rotate it into place. Alright, so there's another part done. And now we're starting to get to some of the outer coverings, it looks like, of these. And so we need C15 and 16, which these ones look pretty obvious. It's these two. All right, so we take one of these. Now we've got some parts to attach. There we go. We're getting closer to having some sort of functioning arm. I like to say whenever I mess up one of these is that it's got battle damage. You've got an easy out when you're dealing with fighting robots. All right, there are those. And next it's having us put on C19 and 20. Are these two here. All right, hold it like this. Got one part like it clips in there. Yep. That bit of arm. Oops, I forgot the other half of this. So that's there. And then I've got to get this one. Go up and over there. That one just clicked into place. That's the first easy part I think we've had all night. All right, I think we've got our two arms. And now is where it gets into specifics for each side of arm. We come down the line and put it all together. It looks like we're going to have just enough time to hopefully get through the arms tonight. Right now it's having me build a hand. And for that I am going to need E4, 5, and 1. And what I just said can't be right. Nope. 4, 5, and 12. There's 4. There's 5. And we're also going to need, looking at the hands and trying to decide what I want to build later, I like the hands that kind of hold stuff, which I think is going to be this one, number 10. And now I just need a thumb, which I believe was labeled number 12. Yep. All right. There's our fingers, there's the back of it, and here's the main hand part. What we got to do here is put the thumb in. Here we'll put this main hand part in. You see it clicks into place here. I like to use these ones that kind of grip for the accessories. They do usually give you 2 or 3 hand options. This one had some that are like open hands and other things. But I like the ones that'll hold accessories. So that's the one I'm going to pick. And that is my right arm. And now it looks like I only need 2 more parts, B16 and 17, and a sticker. Here's our 16 and 17. These little accent parts. And allegedly a sticker. Yep, that goes on. Goes on this part right here. I'm going to consult my box here for a second. Okay. This one's a bit of a tough sticker. I'm also not very good at stickers. Also, I think this would have been easier to put on before this was surrounded by other pieces. But let's see what we can do. So it wants me to get this little wraparound sticker on the outer edge of this. Nope, not quite. Yeah. Here we go. I think that's about as good as we're going to get that one. And now we have to do it 3 more times. Sometimes with stickers, you just kind of gotta poke them on and then move them around a little bit. There we go. All right, 2 down, 2 to go. This one I think I goofed up a little bit. Take this, technically a little sanding tool, but try and use it to kind of poke into here. Ooh, now this one looks really bad. It's a little better. All right, one more. Good enough for now. All right. That is enough of those stickers for one night. Let's try and get these arms put together. So we've got one arm giving us this. Wants us to put on these blue highlight pieces. That I don't think I can mess up because they can seemingly only go in the right direction. Push it all together. Then going to have this part, we were just having all the fun stickering go into that. That is our arm. And here's the hand. There we go. We've successfully built an arm. We'll wrap up the other arm, and then I think we will call it a night. So now I need E17, 6, and 3. Oop, and I forgot the thumb. Right, so pop our thumb into place, put our hand in to hold stuff, and in our last part, the little back of the glove or whatever you want to consider it to hold it all together. We cut out, oops, I already used the ones on that one, our 16 and our 17, our little highlight pieces, just like on the other arm. We already did the stickers, so we don't have to deal with that again. We're into the home stretch on these arms. around. That's our other arm. Get that shoulder in there nice and tight. There's our hand. And give it a little bend, make sure it doesn't just disintegrate. And I think we're pretty good. Those are the two arms. Unfortunately, we didn't quite make it to building any of the body. Eventually, there'll be some more that goes in the waist, and they'll attach into here. But we're not quite that far in yet. If you do keep an eye on our Facebook, hopefully I'll finish this sometime in the next week or two, depending on how much time I have. And I'll post some pictures of our finished project. If you did like this, feel free to let us know in the comments. We are planning to do some more Maker Mondays throughout the month. We're going to have some 8-bit bead art, and we're also going to have some jigsaw preservation. Let us know if there's things that possibly someone at the library does that you want to see. Things that we make or hobbies that we do. Otherwise, thank you for coming out, and have a good night.